Hello, Facebook world. My name is Kara and I'm with Des Moines Mom. And today we are chatting with Kyle Clarkson, and Kyle is a Century 21 real estate agent. Kyle, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, appreciate this, first of all. So thank you, Kara. Yeah, I've been selling real estate for almost 18 years. I was born and raised in Ankeny and still live in Ankeny, but kind of do business kind of all over the metro. So married for 18 years and three kids that are now back to school. So living that crazy half home, half school, but
Mhm.
we're figuring it out like
Yep,
everyone else.
that is absolutely the truth. Okay, so we talk about back to school and summer's gone and now it is fall. And I think I want to sell my house.
Yeah,
Is now a good time to do this? Did I miss my window?
yeah. So great question. Every year there's kind of a pattern that seems to happen. As far as when's a great time and when maybe isn't a great time. This year's been a little crazy. Probably know that, but so things when this whole COVID thing kind of hit back in March slowed things down, and then all of a sudden it just kind of took off. And so our normal spring market was a little later than normally everybody says spring's the best time. Well, it got pushed back, and it was kind of late spring, summer was a really good time. And then as school kind of came in August here, people kind of settled down a little bit, and that's normal. There's a slight slowdown, but
Mhm.
then as I rank the times to sell a house, spring is probably number one, but number two is fall. I
Oh,
think
okay.
people have settled down, they're in their house, or they're back in school and all that, and then if they're thinking of selling, it can be a really good time. On top of that, like I said, I've been selling real estate for a long time, and 10 years ago there were a ton of homes for sale in Des Moines, 6,600 at its worst. Today, I think this morning when I looked, there was just over 2,700 homes for sale in all of Des Moines.
Wow.
So you have almost, well, less than half of what you had 10 years ago. So whether you're thinking of selling the fall or winter or spring or summer with that low of inventory, honestly, it really doesn't matter because interest rates are so low that
Right.
a lot of people are out there buying. So yes, fall can be a great time.
Okay. All right. So you convinced me. So I'm going to list my house.
Good.
What types of things should I consider when I'm, getting ready to sell my house?
Yeah, and so it can be a little different depending. So a lot of times it's how long you've been in the house because
Mhm.
if you're like the normal person, things tend to accumulate, So if people have been in their house 5, 10, 15 years or longer, items just accumulate. And I was talking to someone this morning where they've been in that house for 20 plus years and have quite a bit to do to kind of update it, kind of minimize some things. And so
Mhm.
they're going to need a little longer time to get those things done. Where sometimes people are maybe more on top of that, have updated their home and they're ready to go in a shorter amount of time. But
Mhm.
one of the things we always do is I work with a stager, and her name is Christy. And so we walk through the house, and just give tips to sellers about here's what you need to do to maximize the amount of your home can sell for, and then also help it sell quicker.
Mhm.
And so she'll just literally we'll go room by room and say, okay, one of the biggest things anyone needs to know is less is more. And so if you've got a lot of stuff in a room, how do we minimize? You don't necessarily need to get rid of everything, but less is more. So every room there's probably things that we need to get rid of some things.
Okay.
And then what colors are in style.
Mhm.
We're going into fall now. One of the questions is, fall, winter is a big time when people like to decorate for the season, right? And that's
Mhm.
okay. When we're trying to sell a house, we want it to feel like home to
Mhm.
people. And so if you're decorating for fall, you're decorating, for the holidays coming up, that can be a good thing and can be a selling point and actually can help stage a house. So the big things are, kind of minimizing, and then just when we talk staging, we're not talking about hauling all these things in. We do that from time to time, but more
Mhm.
just how can we rearrange each room so it's kind of true to purpose of what it's supposed to be, maybe lighten it up a little bit, um, and different things like that.
Okay. I mean, okay, so we're talking about staging. We're talking about decluttering and getting rid of stuff and making sure it feels more open. If
Yeah.
we are going to go through the hassle of, really trying to get the most out of their house, the most bang for your buck,
Yep.
where do you think I should focus my money on when it comes to renovations and like updates?
Yep. And this can be a little different because, everybody will tell you kitchen and baths, right? Is if you're going to
Mm-hmm.
put money in, put it in the kitchen and baths. But I think it also depends on like how long you're going to be in a house. So if you came to me today and said, "Hey, I'm ready to sell my house," well, what are we trying to accomplish? Are we just trying to get it sold? Are we trying to get you the most that we can out of the house?
Okay.
And then we'll start talking about those things. But if I'm going to go and have a bathroom or a kitchen professionally remodeled, well, that costs a lot of money to do that. And if you try to sell the house next week and have just done that, you getting that back, it might not happen. It
Mm-hmm.
may not happen. You may not get that money back. And so before you go and dump all the money into these projects, I think the question is, how long are you going to be in the house?
Mm-hmm.
And then, are we looking to sell it quickly for top dollar, a combination of the thing, of both of them? And so there's a conversation I'll have with sellers all the time. And I would tell people, before you're going to do all that, let's talk and let's see what you need to do to maximize. So I've got people that are probably 6 months down the road here in Ankeny, but we
Mm-hmm.
talked about that. And I laid out, okay, if you want to sell it right now, here's the price that you can get.
Mm-hmm.
If you're willing to put a little work in, okay, if you do this, here's what you could sell the home for. If you remodel the kitchen and the bath and do all these other updates, here's what we could get. And so you got
Mm-hmm.
to kind of weigh is, all right, is it worth putting that money and time in? Because
Mm-hmm.
now the price of the house is going up, which may mean it may take a little longer to sell,
Mm-hmm.
different things like that. So there's a lot that goes into it. But if you're going to make updates, it can range from kitchen and baths to just list the house in Ankeny that really, it's a 13-year-old house that is not new, but it has size, location.
Mm-hmm.
And they really, if they replace the carpet, that's probably all that they need to do. And there's
Mm-hmm.
times I'll walk into a house and be like, well, there's really nothing you need to do. But bang for your buck, kitchen and baths are always probably the top things. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're someone who's very handy, that's a way that you can add a lot of equity to your house. If I'm going to remodel a kitchen myself or remodel a bath myself, you cut down on obviously some of that expenses and can make some money there.
Mm-hmm.
One of the ones I get asked about a lot is, okay, if I finish my basement,
Yeah.
and if you're going to go finish the basement, that's okay, but are you going to be able to enjoy it for a little bit? Because if I go finish my basement today and want to sell next month, again, I'm not going to get that back for that money that I put into it. So if it's 5 years down the road and I'm going to be able to enjoy it the next 5 years, well, then I probably can make a little money and I
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it for the next 5 years. Then it makes sense. But just to
Mm-hmm.
go finish a basement professionally,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to get that back.
Yeah, that makes sense because right, I think part of the reason, people put time and money into home renovations is because they want something different and they want to be able to
Yeah,
enjoy it.
yeah, that's
And
yeah,
yeah, if you're just going to do it to be able to up the resale value, you have to factor in that too.
yeah,
So
absolutely. It's worth doing.
yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so this is not a question that we talked about, but what, in your opinion, what areas of Des Moines have the hottest markets for selling right now?
Yeah, and so I mean, right now, all of Des Moines is pretty hot, but just because interest
Mm-hmm.
rates are incredibly low, inventories
Mm-hmm.
are incredibly low. I can tell you, when the market was not so hot back in like 2009, if you were talking
Mm-hmm.
like the areas that actually saw some appreciation, Beaverdale was one of those areas. I remember having a conversation with an appraiser, and this is like 2010, and
Mm-hmm.
he was showing like the one area in Des Moines that actually held its value or even saw an increase, and this was in a bad market, was
Mm-hmm.
that kind of northwest Des Moines, Beaverdale area.
Hmm.
Now, some areas may have seen a little bit or
Mm-hmm.
not seen depreciation, but that was like the one area that held its
Mm-hmm.
value 10 years ago. Right now,
Mm-hmm.
really all of Des Moines is doing pretty well. You see areas like, Grimes and Waukee and Ankeny that's just seen a ton of growth
Yeah.
with all this new construction coming in. So, real estate is a really good investment. I just listed a house and sold it that's closing next month. They bought it less than 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and they did a little bit of work, but not a ton, and it sold for $20,000 more.
Wow, that's
It
incredible.
wasn't from the work they've done; it was from just appreciation just in a few years in real estate. So price point matters for that stuff, right? This house was a 180 house when they bought it. Now it's a 2, and that's a price point that sees a lot of
Yeah.
first time buyer activity.
Mhm.
and you see maybe larger appreciation in those price points than others. But really in Des Moines with the market the way it is, you're probably safe anywhere.
Okay. So all of that being considered, Kyle, you're sitting here telling me that it's definitely a seller's market and there's low inventory and I can definitely get my house, it's a good time to consider listing my house.
Yep.
Why should I go with a real estate agent versus trying to do for sale by owner?
Yep. So there's probably several reasons you'd consider that. One would be a timing thing. I mean, this is what I do, my full-time job. And a lot of people, they work jobs, right? And so if your house isn't available to be shown, well, it's not on the market. And so availability is a big thing. And knowledge is a big thing. I've been doing this for 18 years. And so when someone is thinking about selling their house, well, how do you know what a house is worth? I do that every single day. And one of the story I'll share with you from last month is listed a house that had been for sale by owner for about a month or so, and activity and price and all these things came into play. So their home was listed a little less. We actually bumped the price up 5,000 when I listed it,
Right.
and we had about 10 showings in the first 3 days and had a full price offer, and sold 5-6 weeks later. So in that time, we had actually sold it for $5,000 more, and had more showings in one weekend than they had in a month. And so I think those kind of things. Exposure is a big thing that I hadn't mentioned. Over 90% of homes sell with a real estate agent, and so there's a network of agents that are out there that I'm
Mhm.
networking with, and
Right.
we're putting that house in front of them. So I think price is one. The National Association of Realtors did a study. Homes that are listed sell for 13% more
Hmm.
than homes
Okay.
that are not listed with an agent. So a lot of times they're like, well, I want to save, that 6% or whatever it might be. Well, they end up actually costing themselves money just because they don't know the market, they don't know how to negotiate. So there's a lot of reasons um, uh, to list your home with an agent.
Okay. Well, you have me convinced, Kyle.
Okay, yeah,
But we're not moving.
yeah,
So
yeah. I'm going to work on Lance.
yes, for everybody else out there, Kyle, Kyle helped us purchase the current house that we live in, and then Kyle also sold our house this last spring too. So I will say that Kyle is very good at his job, and we have zero regrets. And he's
Yeah,
a great real estate agent as far as not being like super like in your face and pushy and like constantly like, hey, are you guys wanting to move? Are you wanting to sell the house? Like every other week or so. Kyle is very personable and he's got really good timing. And I think he's got a really great ability to read people and kind of know what they need and what they're looking for.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you, Karen.
All right. Well, this concludes our interview today with Kyle and talking about real estate. And if you have other things that you want to ask Kyle, feel free to drop something in the comments and we will make sure that you get connected to him.
I appreciate it, Kara. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
We'll see you. Bye.